welcome Cíntia Mano. Let's begin the interview for the West Investors Project. So, Cíntia, can you please provide a brief introduction about your background and your experience in the world of investment?
Sure. It's a pleasure to be here and speak a little bit about my experience. In fact, I have been working before joining the world of investing in startups. I have worked in big companies for a long time. My background is in computer science, so I have worked with technology for some time. And then after my master in administration, I worked for big corporations. And then I decided to leave this world and to join a startup as a co-founder, which made a lot of sense for me at that time, but it was a dramatic change. So I experienced the movement from a corporation to a startup, but I loved that. It was really hard, but I really liked the experience. And then when I was working at the startup and I was dedicated to business development and commercial activities, I started helping other startups because of my corporate experience. So I started mentoring some of the startups. But I was always thinking like, well, I started meeting some incredible founders, people trying to build solutions to make real changes in the world. But they didn't have much support. Sometimes they had some sort of support in terms of mentoring, being part of an incubation process or an acceleration program, but they needed more. And I started seeing many of these startups failing and closing because they didn't have sometimes few money just to give some peace of mind to founders so that they could work, they could develop their technologies, they could validate it into the market, but they didn't have this financial support. We know that in many countries, in many organizations, we have some sort of brands, but sometimes it was not enough. So when I was mentoring those startups, I kept always thinking like, well, what if I could contribute to them, not only with mentorship, not only with advisory, but also with some money. And by that time, I was already investing in other assets. So I was an investor in the stock market. I had other types of investments. But when I started thinking of investing in a startup, although I was very excited with the idea, I was kind of concerned, also worried, because I didn't have money to invest in many startups to have like a risk dilution. So I would invest in one, in two, but then the risk is too high. And then I started thinking, well, will I be able to meet good opportunities, good deals? Do I have to learn about all these things, all these clauses, those terms? So although I was very excited with this idea, I was not very excited to start a new cycle of learning so many different things. I was working also, so I had other stuff to do. So I kind of kept this dream or this plan for a while aside, while I didn't meet any other ways of investing. And then I found a group. I met a group of angels that were investing together. And it made a lot of sense to me because there was a person, there was a leader of this group that was taking care of all this contracts, term sheets, and all these things. So I didn't have to go so deep on these matters. And I also had other people with me evaluating the deals, making the questions to the founders. We were discussing together what was promising or not. So I thought it would make sense, and this is how I started. So I started beginning as part of an angel group, investing together with other angels. It made a lot of sense to me. It is a really rich experience, and so this is how it all started.
After this beginning as in the career as investor, what was the initial challenge that you face? It was the learning that it was needed.
Learning was one of them, of course, because when I was in the side of the founder, when I was a founder in the startup, I use it to talk to investors. I use it to present pitches, and I had some understanding of the metrics and of the world of the startup. But when you are in the other side, you start seeing all those metrics and seeing the evaluation of the startups in a different perspective. And so this is also a learning process. So, but in the end, it's not something that you can take a course on. It's something that you need to experience and you need to learn by doing. So I think the first challenge was to be comfortable in being in a room where there was a founder pitching something, and there are some colleagues from the industry that they know quite well about that, or more experienced angels that they know all the metrics, all what it means to the business, and how we should consider those numbers much more than me, and be okay with that and feel like, yes, I'm in a process, I'm starting to do this, this is a new activity. And then I started learning by doing and also reading articles, looking for some references. So this was the first challenge. And the second challenge, I guess, is I think it's balancing I think it's the relationship with founders, because sometimes you want to do things for them, and you're just an investor, okay? And of course that many times I can support, I can contribute, I can work with, but if I didn't have other things to do, I would be like working by their side. So it's another challenge as well.
In your position as a female investor, how you achieve the balance between the personal life and the demands of the investment activities? Can be very demanding, no?
Yes, and I think that compared to my previous lives, I think it's easier right now because I can manage my agenda much better than when I was an employee in a big company. Or when I was a founder in the startup, because you work like 24 hours a day, but you have to manage this also. So I think it can be tricky sometimes, especially when you have events and for me the balance thing is a challenge when I have some people looking for some support. So I'm contacted by many entrepreneurs that need some guidance, that need some mentor before they are invested, right? So I do some mentoring activities with startups that I haven't invested in. Some of these activities are pro bono activities when I am working with a female founder. So I do it for free and my time because I want to give guidance to them and I want to let them know how this investment world works so that they can really go for funding in a better way. So when this is the tricky thing about the balance with the personal life. There is the event, the requests from many people that I know that they need some help, and I know that sometimes I could spend like 15 minutes with them and give some hints. But then sometimes I have to block my agenda and say, this week it's not possible, maybe next week or in 2 weeks. This is the tricky part of balancing personal and the investment activities. But as I said, we manage our agenda, so it's much easier than when I was in the corporate life.
What specific skills do women possess that make their contributions more valuable to the ecosystem?
I think that we like to be prepared, and I usually see my angel colleagues, my female angel colleagues, we have a higher standard of preparation, like going to a pitch and already knowing something about the startup, taking notes, discussing later. So we have this careful approach when we are evaluating an investment or when we are working with a startup post-investment. I can see this. And sometimes it's not so good for us because we feel like we need to be over-prepared, and it's not like that. So in this sense, I feel like we need to learn a little bit from our male colleagues and just go and, and if you weren't able to read all the pages, just go to the meeting and try to learn something from it. But I think that this care with preparation, with getting informed, of learning about that business before having an opinion, before forming an opinion. I think this is very interesting, especially to the startups. I think this is very important. And the other thing is the relationship part. I don't like to say that all women are like this because it's not true, but we have this trait or personality of or being better with maintaining relationships and starting relationships, which is very important in the investment arena because it's all about relationships. We need to, when we invest in a startup, it's not only putting money on the startup. We have to build this relationship of trust with the founders in a way that they can reach out to us when they are facing some problems, or they can trust us to share with us what's not going so well. Because having an investor just to share the good news, it's very easy. But the thing is, when you trust the investor that much that you can come and say, you know, we have a big problem here. I need your help. Please, let's have like a talk, and you can give me some ideas. So building this relationship is something that we usually do very well. And it's a very interesting trait in investment arena.
And related with your answer, so do you think that more women, more female investors means more investment in female founder startups, or?
I have this, I'm hopeful about it. I'm not sure about it, but I think yes, because we see that we have a market of solutions addressed to women needs, to women problems, that are related only to the female market. And it's really hard for a man to understand from the perspective of the investment, the potential of that solution. And I get it, you know, it's really hard for a man to understand that, well, this can be really a game changer for this problem of women. Or I think that from all the women I know, I would say that 30% of them would buy the solution, or, you know, so it's hard. How are you going to evaluate a menopause solution if you have never gone through it, or you don't know, you didn't see your mother going through it, or it's hard, you know. Of course, that there are men that understand, or that they are in this industry. So usually when we are talking about female health, you can find some doctors or health related professionals that can be more sensitive to this kind of solution, to this kind of market. But usually it's hard. So I think that women can be can invest more in female solutions. So solutions addressed to the female market.
Mm-hmm.
And in some other startups that are not really addressing female problems, but are working with any other industries, I think that we can be more, I think that we can invest more in female founders, because we understand some behaviors, not as lack of assertiveness or not as lack of ambition, as men typically think, you know. So it's very common when you are watching a pitch conducted by a female founder that you get some questions from male investors that show that they're not trusting that much that that lady has the power to make it happen, you know. And I think this is just because we have different ways of behaving or of presenting. We have, as I said before, we are very careful about certain aspects, and then care sometimes is seen as they are not too bold, or they are too sensitive, or they are as it would be something negative for the business, you know.
Yes.
And so it happens very frequently, unfortunately. And even when we discuss this with men and they feel like they are conscious about it, this is something hard to fight against. So I expect that if we have more women investing, we can fund more female founders, and also more solutions addressing female problems.
Yes, it's stereotypes, yes. And you as female investor, Have you encountered any stereotypes, any and how you have addressed to this?
Yeah, well, many times, in fact. So yes, there was a situation that a colleague, an investor, also presented me to someone, say, "Oh, she's Cynthia. She's an investor also with us." And the man started talking to me, and 1 minute after he said, "Oh, but what do you do in this company?" And then I said, "I'm an investor." "Oh, but an investor, like you really invest money?" And then I said, "Yes, an investor." He didn't make this question to my colleague, you know. Yes, I do invest money, and this is something that happens many times. Like, as if we were not able to put our money into a startup, or if I would call myself an investor if I was just mentoring in a startup, or if I would have a different role in that company rather than just an investor. So it happens many times. In the beginning, I use it to try to educate these people, you know, be very patient, breathe and explain and make the person understand what's going on. But I gave up. Today, what I do is I select the people I work with. So if the person is not ready for having someone as a woman, as an investor, I'm so sorry. I'm not going to spend time, you know, I'm going to select the ones that I will work with, because it's been also with founders, it's very common, you know. One day I was talking to a team of founders, and I was again with the male angel with me when we were having this meeting, and there was something very technical for the industries that they said, and they said, and they asked us, "Oh, you know what this means?" And my colleague said, "Yes, I know." And then I said, "No, I don't." And then he just passed the slide and went to the other topic. Like, okay, so if he knows and she doesn't know, I don't have to explain anything. Let's move forward. And then I said, "No, I think you didn't understand me. I don't understand. What is this? Can you please explain what is this? What is this term that you use it?" And then the guy, I saw that in that moment, he was kind of embarrassed. Like, okay, I skipped her and I didn't realize it. So he apologized and he explained and etc. But today I don't do this anymore. I really just lost a little bit of my patience, and I just don't want to work with this kind of people. And let's move forward.
For sure, for sure. So, Cynthia, could you share with us a special moment, a special success story, a significant milestone from your journey
Yes,
as investors?
Yes, we usually tend to see that, well, the greatest thing that can happen to an investor in startup is when you have an exit, okay?
Yes.
And yes, of course, the financial success is really important. So when an exit happens, it's really good. You feel happy for you. You feel happy for the founders, of course. But I think that there are some points in the journey that are, I think they last more, you know, because the financial success is a consequence of all of a journey, and you get happy, and then okay, after 1 month it's done, you know. And when you have after a week maybe, depending on the exit, of course. But I had one of the startups that I had invested, they were like close to bankruptcy. It was a very tough time. I started talking to them like every week, and it was like monitoring cash every week, you know, like what are the expenses that we're cutting, what is the plan. And the hard thing was that because they were in that situation and they took so long to realize that they were in that situation. And of course, I told them, you took so long to talk to us, you know, investors. Because of that mood that I said before, you know, like wanting just to give the good news. And they were caught in that situation of almost running out of cash, and they couldn't see options, you know, they couldn't see, they were just trying to resolve the short term, which is obvious in the situation, but they couldn't have someone thinking about the long term. And then we said, okay, take care of this expenses, cash management, etc. and let's have like 2 hours every week to just think about the future and think about a plan that will get you out of this. Okay. And that's what we did. So, and in the end, it was very nice because it ended up as a new offer of that company. So we could transform something very negative, and which was a nightmare to the founders. They were almost losing the company, you know, into a new product, a new way of cash generation. And in the end, it was very important because the old product was really losing market, and they were almost done with that. So if maybe if they couldn't count on someone that was outside the business, you know, outside the operations, to push them and say, let's think about the future, let's think about how it's never going to happen again. This is another thing. Not only creating a new path, but also how do we prevent it from happening again? You cannot manage cash this way. You cannot have you cannot tell this sort of news to investors, you know, like 1 month before running totally out of cash.
Yes.
So this was very interesting to me because it showed me that we as investors, we really can contribute to the founders. It's not something that we want to believe. It's something that is real, that if we have the openness from the founders and if we are able to build these relationships of trust, this can happen in investment.
Yes, because the investor can have a very large role, not only investing, but also providing support and advice to these startups. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
So, Cynthia, just almost closing our interviews. So, how these interviews, these role models can help to increase the number of female investors in the ecosystem? Do you think that are important to see the experience of other successful investors like you, Cynthia, and others?
Yes, I think it's it's something interesting. I've been to a conference 2 years ago, I guess, in France, and I heard some numbers from a survey that was done with female angels. And one of the things that they mentioned is that something like 60% of these female angels, they said that they wish they had invested before, but they didn't do that before because they didn't know about this activity. They didn't know about this activity, and they didn't know that they could do it. And this is something that we are trying that it's important for us to try to end, you know, this myth that to be an investor, you need to be very, very rich. Oh, I'm just only millionaires or billionaires investing in startups. Of course, that you need to have some money, of course, and especially invest in startups, you need to consider that the amount of money from your wallet that you're investing in a startup needs to be, short money from your wallet. It's not because it's a really high risk. It doesn't mean that it's not worth it. It is, but you need to invest a small part of your portfolio of assets. So I think it's important to talk about it because other women can see and say, you know, I have a similar journey from this person. Maybe I could do that also, you know. Oh, it's not someone who has gained money from the family and doesn't need to work. No, I do work. I do, you know. So it's important to break these barriers, to destroy those myths of being only super wealthy people can invest in startups, or that is something that is only for men, or that it's only something for people who have worked with finance, or something of people that have someone in the startup role. So it's not professional investing. It's more like we call love money. Oh, she's an investor because she's investing in the startup of the nephew, you know? No, it's not like that. I'm investing in startups of other people. And so it's important to talk about it and to bring these stories so that other women can see. I know many women that they would be amazing angel investors. And I tried to convince them, but some I was some of them I was able to convince them, but they know about business. They have a great experience, a professional experience. They could add a lot to the startups, not only their money. They know how to manage money. So, but they don't do. And sometimes I think they are still stopped by those myths, but also by an atmosphere that sometimes it happens, that is feeling judged by being a woman investing, you know. And it's hard, but I think it's becoming better. I think that the most women that we have on the table make those environment better for us. So it will be a better. I think it will bring a better atmosphere for investment. And I've been seeing the number of investors growing around me. So it's been very important. And we need to inspire the future generation of investors as well.
It was great talk, Cynthia. I don't know if you want to make any closing remarks, but it was a great talk with you and great interview. And thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Teresa. Thank you very much. I just wanted to say that when you decide to invest in a startup or in a portfolio of startups, it's really easy to think of what's going to go wrong and the risks associated. But when you start living the experience, when you start learning from someone's business, and you feel like you can really contribute to it, you feel like you're doing something else. It's not just investing, you know, but it's also contributing to the next generation of leaders. It's also contributing to having the young people finding a way for their careers. So we see many times that we are concerned about the young people because they are unemployed or because they don't make enough money, or they are living in their parents' houses. So this is a way of pushing these people forward and supporting them and creating great solutions to the society and building their own businesses. This is just what I want to mention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cynthia.